The tapping at the window came just as the sun was starting to rise, a soft but insistent knock that seemed almost urgent. It was the kind of sound that, in the early hours of the morning, didn't quite make sense. But as the world outside brightened, the shadow behind the glass became clear. Darling was perched there, waiting. A wild crow, a bird that should have long flown away, and yet she was here, knocking like she belonged. When Alice Carter first found her, Darling was just a helpless fledgling. It happened during a walk with her dog, Sam, a lazy afternoon stroll through the trees when a flash of black feathers caught her eye. The little bird had fallen from her nest, stranded on the ground, her small wings too weak to lift her back up. At first, Alice hesitated. She knew that crow parents often came back to feed their young, and the last thing she wanted to do was interfere. She decided to step back and watch from a distance, waiting to see if help would come. As the sun began to set, the familiar noises of the day softened, replaced by the eerie quiet that only comes before nightfall. Shadows stretched longer, and the realization hit like a weight in her chest. Predators would come soon. The little crow, so vulnerable and alone, wouldn't make it through the night. Alice couldn't leave her. Carefully, she scooped the tiny bird into her hands and placed her in a small open box on the deck, high enough that her parents could still find her, but safe enough to keep her out of reach of anything lurking in the darkness. She didn't sleep much that night, half expecting to hear the flutter of wings, the sound of an adult crow reclaiming their baby. By morning, her prayers were answered. Darling's parents had found her. They came, they fed her, and they stayed. The plan had worked. Alice had done her part. It was time to step back. But Darling had other plans. That first morning, she tapped at the window, watching with bright, intelligent eyes, her little feet shuffling in place. Alice opened the door cautiously, expecting the bird to fly away. But instead, Darling hopped forward, waiting. It became a routine. Every day at dawn, the tapping would start. And every day, Darling would wait to be acknowledged before going about her business. She wasn't a pet, wasn't caged or dependent. She was wild, free to leave whenever she wanted. And yet, she stayed. As the days passed, Darling grew more comfortable. She became part of the family in ways that no one could have expected. She played with the animals, blending into the rhythm of the household as if she had always belonged. She had a special bond with Sam, who from the very start had treated her like an old friend. She would land gently on his back during their walks, wings stretched slightly for balance as he strolled forward unfazed, carrying his tiny passenger as if it was the most natural thing in the world. She would bury small bits of food in his fur, hiding her treasures like a squirrel with an acorn. Gigi, the family's other dog, was more hesitant, unsure of what to make of the feathered visitor. Their first interactions were slow, separated by a window as they watched each other from a distance. But over time, curiosity won over hesitation. The day they finally met nose to beak, Alice held her breath, unsure of what would happen. Crows and dogs weren't supposed to be friends, but Darling had her own rules. Instead of fear, there was acceptance. Instead of instinct, there was understanding. They played together like siblings, sneaking up on each other in the yard, darting away in a game of chase that neither seemed to want to end. What should have been natural enemies became inseparable companions. The magic of Darling wasn't just in the way she stayed. It was in the way she understood. There was a sharp intelligence behind those eyes, something more than just animal instinct. She knew when someone needed comfort. She knew when to bring laughter. And she knew, perhaps better than anyone, how fleeting time really was. Then one morning, there was no tapping at the window. Alice woke to the silence first, the absence of sound making her stomach tighten with unease. Outside, the crows were calling, their voices loud, urgent, a cry that wasn't normal. She rushed out the door, her heart pounding as her eyes scanned the yard. Something was wrong. A hawk had been circling the area. The moment she spotted the scattered feathers, her worst fears became real. Darling was gone. The grief that followed was unlike anything Alice had felt before. Losing a pet was hard, but Darling had never been a pet. She was something else. Something wilder. Something more. She had been a gift, a piece of nature that had chosen to stay just long enough to make a difference, to be part of something bigger. She had been family. The loss was unbearable, but with it came something else. A lesson. The days with Darling had been a reminder to never take anything for granted, to wake up each morning with gratitude, to cherish the moments that seem small because one day they won't be there anymore. Darling's story didn't end the way anyone had hoped, but it still mattered. Her life, short as it was, brought joy, connection, and a kind of love that couldn't be explained, only felt. And for those who hear her story, who feel the weight of her wings in their hearts, there is a choice. To protect the wild creatures that cross our paths, to respect their freedom but also to help when help is needed, to support rescues and sanctuaries that give animals like Darling a chance, to appreciate every sunrise, every knock at the window, every fleeting magical moment before it's gone. If Darling's story has touched your heart, consider supporting wildlife rehabilitation efforts. Every small act of kindness makes a difference. Every life, no matter how wild, no matter how brief, deserves to be cherished.